Hey, folks, my guest today is Alfonso de la Nuez. He's building a tool. You've probably heard of it called UserZoom.com, the experience insight management company that helps businesses gather and manage the insights they need to design and deliver an exceptional digital experience. They've raised over 150 million bucks and backed by Silicon Valley investors, Sunstone Capital, and Owl Rock. Alfonso, are you ready to take us to the top?
I am. Thank you for having me again.
So, hey, real quick, for people that missed our last interview from April, where you shared, I believe that you had just passed about an $80 million run rate and 1,000 customers, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So help me understand, this is a very frothy space, like user feedback in general. How are you positioning yourself? I mean, there's a clue in your bio where you used a very specific word, right? Experience Insights Management Platform. Is that what you're trying to brand and own?
Correct. Yes, we are. To be honest with you, Experience Insights Management is a little bit of a visionary way of positioning ourselves in a market where right now there's a bunch of companies specializing in UX and a bunch of companies specializing in CX. And then there is other companies that are talking about experience management, such as the case of Qualtrics. There's Momentive, which is the new SurveyMonkey, also providing feedback. There's a lot of survey tools out there. And then there is others like UserZoom, which focuses on the product experience. And user research and user experience research usually takes place in the pre-production stages, Nathan, which is when you're kind of in the discovery stage, when you're designing and you're prototyping and solutioning, as we like to call it. And then you need some validation and some testing and across all these stages of the life cycle of the product development, product design and development life cycle. You want to be in touch with those users before they become customers. Mm-hmm. Now, once you become customers, there are multiple ways to measure and track experience. And so we come in with specific methodologies and metrics that provide much more than just a survey, much more than just a feedback mechanism. But you can also do qualitative research. You do one-on-one interviews. You can do unmoderated sessions where you ask them to complete certain tasks, not just questions, but tasks. And we record everything they do. So we combine kind of attitudinal and opinions with behavior data and video. And
is this a marketplace though? Like, can I, as a SaaS tool, pay you to go find people to test my software and you record them testing it, doing an action I asked you to do it? Or are you enabling me to get this data from my customers directly?
You can, our customers use the product as a self-service. So you don't actually need to ask us for anything. We just give you the login and password. And you as a company, you have probably multiple products or properties, digital properties. You can test your properties or you can test any URL, competitors or any other website that is accessible through a web browser.
So who do you, like, if you take off and you like crush it, like who do you kill? I mean, does Pendo go out of business if you do well?
No, in fact, Pendo, funny enough, this very morning, we were discussing this. Pendo is a great ally or partner because they're very much specialized in product analytics, right? They do provide feedback, but it's a very simple, feedback. Do you like it or not? But their core business is analytics, product analytics. That's more specialized in the what's going on. Like we use Pendo, by the way. Our product team uses Pendo and uses UserZoom and a bunch of other tools. But that's more analytics and what's happening, the visits, the monthly active users, like activities that we call cold data. It is very important, but that's different than user research, which is when you actually engage in a conversation and you ask people to complete certain tasks and you record everything they're doing. So we're not just saying what, we actually focus a lot more on the why and the how they do what they do.
Yeah.
So very much complementary.
It is. It feels so like you feel so close to Pendo and you both feel so close to like Hotjar and SmartLook. I wonder why there hasn't been a mass sort of like merger between all of these.
It's happening, things. Nathan, it's happening. Look,
tell me about
it. Let me tell you. So first of all, the whole thing, I consider the whole thing, this product experience, digital experience market, right? I mean, I see that as a digital product cloud and research insights cloud. That's the category I can see. Okay, and that's why we call it experience insights management. For digital, there are more of what we call passive insights, which is analytics. Those that will collect information and data, cold data on once you're live, once the product is live. And then there's others like including UserZoom that are more active research platforms. these are products that allow you to connect to your users and ask questions and probe them and have conversations, right? So one is more analytics, the other is user research. And as I said earlier, customer experience is all about feedback management and asking people once you go live. The other one, user experience research, is more about design and understanding, how to build a digital experience, right? A digital product. All of these guys right now, all of these vendors, all of these solutions are, kind of separated, and there's little categories for each. But what's happening in the market, and I can see it, happening, is that there's going to be convergence. So, for instance, Content Square just acquired Hotjar. I think the news hit this morning, right? Then you see, you see qualitative, and you see customers. I talk to customers all the time that think that qualitative and quantitative, they need to be paired up, and they don't look at customer experience and user experience as two completely different categories. They actually like to see it as an experience category, right? You see Qualtrics, which is one of the leaders, if not the leading company, is doing brand research and market research, and they're also doing product and design research as well. Mm-hmm. We offer a whole lot of UX tools, UX solutions for user testing and user experience research, but we also offer surveys for more marketers and e-commerce and quantitative analysis. So I think what we're seeing is that over time we're going to see convergence. We're going to see that you're not going to have separate teams working on separate things, but everything is going to be about the experience that the end users have.
Yep. How much revenue do you think Hotjar had?
The press release this morning actually didn't say, they didn't specify the terms of the deal, which kind of leads me to believe that it was a fairly small deal. I don't know, maybe wrong, but so don't quote me on that. But clearly under 100 million, likely, right? Based on what I knew and the fact that Hotjar was much more focused on SMB, I think they probably were somewhere in the 10 to 20 million is my guess.
Were you looking at the deal at all?
No, because Hotjar again is analytics. Hotjar would be the basic tool that you need to understand what's happening with your website, right? So you have Google Analytics, you have Pendo, you have Hotjar doing some things and some behavior with heat maps as well. So they wanted to kind of take it to the so-called advanced analytics, just a little bit more. But they're not really in the user research space the way we are positioned. Again, you're not having direct conversations with users, and you're not using Hotjar before it goes live, before the product goes live. So that's why we were not looking at that.
People will use you as they're doing product research before they launch the product to do testing.
In fact, most of the times, they'll test with prototypes, with wireframes.
That's a great sort of way to delineate, like pre-product versus post-product.
That's exactly how I explained. Sorry if I didn't explain that more correctly to you or more in detail before.
I'm just slow.
No, that's okay. But you're not alone. Trust me, I'm telling this story to a lot of people. But actually, the one way to make it very simple to delineate or differentiate is that one is a lot more used and dedicated and positioned in the pre-production stages versus the post-production stages. That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
Yep. Really interesting. Okay. So when you came on, you were doing about 4 or 5 months ago, you had done about 6.5 million, I think, in recognized MRR in April. What are you guys up to now today?
I'll give you the basic, the numbers in terms of run rate and for the year. Great. We're looking at clearly surpassing at the $80 million run rate, because we grew, when we spoke to you, we were growing at almost I would say 45%, 40 to 45. We're now growing at 55. So it's not a hell of a lot more. It's not like we're doubling in growth, but we are growing more.
Will you break $100 million run rate by December? So $8.3 million in revenue this December? Okay.
No, I think we will run rate maybe, but I think we will be over 100 million by Q1 is what we're anticipating. Yeah, I would be surprised if we don't do that.
Do you anticipate you getting there by you growing your ACV above that $80,000 average, or will you move down market and try and widen your top of funnel, more mid-market SMBs?
Actually, both. It's a great question, and we're talking about both. We need to do both, by the way.
How do you do both? Aren't those very different paths? Isn't it distracting?
Yes, but it's what it takes to scale. So we want to go public next year, by the way. So that's our target, right? And if you want to go public, you need to show that you're able to grow in both expansion dollars as well as new bookings or new logos. So what we have is a strategy right now, go-to-market strategy that up until now we've been focusing quite a bit on, really expanding our current accounts. I mean, we're seeing our NRR, for instance. I think last time we spoke was 120. We're looking at 125 right now. So we're even doing even better in that sense. But we also want to see more companies come in in the starting point or the low end, at 12,000 or below per year to come in and start working, maybe doing some basic testing and then upgrade them in the future, it's kind of a land and expand strategy. So we want to see both of those growing, like right away today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Walk me through how you're actually practically doing that. Do you set up individual teams to focus on the higher volume, lower ARPU, and another set to go drive expansion revenue to your biggest accounts?
We do.
Walk me through that. How does it actually look?
Well, so it's a different go-to-market strategy, right? And so what we did is we have the pricing models, and then we have the different products. In our case, we actually have even different products. So if you go to our site, you'll see there's a UserZoom Go, which is the former Validate that we acquired 2 years ago. This was a very simplified, kind of like a light version of our enterprise solution. And it's cheaper, it's more affordable, it's easier to use, and it's less feature rich. All those things are there. And so we use a tech touch approach or semi-tech touch approach, where we have a team of people that will sell that type of license and that type of product with the pricing model, right? It's still an annual subscription, so we still have the same in terms of how we engage with customers, but it's going to be the starting point. And we assign a team of people in marketing as well to work on those opportunities. And then we have the enterprise team that works on higher value deals. And they often work together, of course. I mean, we're seeing that's actually one of the things that I like the most about, and our CRO speaks about this. We talk about an escalator, right? And we see that we have a lot of companies that are started in UCGo are actually moving up because they're maturing, or they want more, or they want more capabilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned last time you had 50 quota carrying reps. What is their quota annually right now? Like most of the reps, I'm sure there are some that are just starting where their quota is smaller, but when they're at full capacity, what is the quota target?
I think we're at 1.4.
1.4. Interesting.
So, somewhere around that. Yeah.
How do you handle giving your CSMs, your customer success managers, a book of business? Do you give them like $1 million and say you're responsible for hitting 25% expansion in this, or how do you do that?
Yeah, very good question. I'll answer the question telling you where we came from and how we're doing it now, right? So we used to have a leader in customer success and a leader in sales for new sales, right? And they were both reporting to me. And to be honest, they tried really hard, but it didn't really work that well. The retention wasn't where I wanted it to be, and they didn't talk to each other that much. Keep in mind that most of our business is high end, high value, high touch. Okay. So what we discovered is that the CSM, is more like an account manager, and should work together with the account executive that sells the deal, and should be kind of like in the same team. I felt like what we needed there is a consultant. We call them research partners to come in and help them in the more of a domain expertise and advisory work. So we call this two in a box: the sales guys and the experts. And that's how we set up the accounts now. We used to have it separate and it didn't work. Now we have it. Everybody's reporting to the CRO. There's account managers that have a quota and they have a book of business, and they're responsible for that. They work together with the account executive, and obviously their quota, the account managers are quota carrying, and the account executive is responsible for the expansion dollars. But they work under the same leader and same culture, same everything. They're not separate teams.
Interesting. Talk to me about capital. Have you raised?
I lost you. Are you mute?
Oh, nope. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me now?
I'm not hearing you now.
I believe your AirPods. I think your AirPods died. We'll keep shooting this.
Let me see if I can get you back. Hold on.
While Alfonso is doing that, guys, as they prepare for IPO, I'm curious. When he came on last time, he said they raised about $100 million at a $500 million valuation from their new partners, private equity firm. He's working on the audio right now. Turn your AirPods. Turn your AirPods off. Can you hear me now? Bluetooth off. You should be able to hear me, Alfonso, if you turn your AirPods off.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Sometimes if AirPods die in the middle of an interview, that happens. No big deal. But my question to you is going to be capitalization wise. Is the last $100 million you raised, do you think that's the last you'll need to raise pre-IPO or should we expect another round from you in the next 6 months?
One of the things that we did in this last few months since we spoke to you is actually generate more profit and more EBITDA than we needed or we wanted. The reason why is because it's hard to hire, and it's hard to hire at the speed that we want. So we actually have more cash than we need, or not that we need, but we expected, and we foresee not needing any additional rounds.
Okay. Of that 100 million, how much went on the balance sheet? I know a lot of it was secondary.
Yeah, I know we talked about it a little bit. I can't comment though.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, some of it was, but I can't comment on the details. Sorry.
Tell me more. Like, I'm always curious when founders are preparing to go public. You look at Henry Schuck, who is able to give you about 10% of Zoom info. There's others like Aaron at Box, he only owned like 2%, right? So, and then there's some like Eric at one at Zoom who owned 35%, 40%. You sold, I believe, the majority of the business back in 2015 when you did the $34 million round out of $50 million valuation. How much equity do you still own, and how do you keep your team incentivized with the extra partners, financial partners?
Yeah, so I can't comment on the very details, but I can tell you that between the management team, there's plenty of equity there, right? Still to really, be a home run here, right? I mean, the two founders, for instance, together, almost 10%. We have a couple. I mean, there's plenty out there still, and with the right valuation, we could all make some good money.
Mm-hmm. So remind me too. So you were not one of the founders. You came in a little bit later. Are you also at around 10%, or are you less than them?
No. I'm one of the founders.
Okay,
one of the other co-CEO that I have with me, Dan Fishback. He's not a founder. He came in later. He came in 2015 together with the investor, with a private equity firm. Private equities, sometimes they use this model. Some use this model, right? Where some, first-time CEO like myself, are provided someone to help them. And in this case, we gave Dan quite a bit of stock to help with this, and it's worked out really well because he's brought a ton of value to the business.
Did Sunstone keep any, or did Owl Rock buy out all of Sunstone?
No. Sunstone went from a majority to a minority, but they still are actually the biggest shareholder.
Sunstone is still the biggest shareholder just on a pure basis.
It just went down in terms of the majority to less than 50%.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but these will sort of be representative. What you're saying is like Sunstone might still own 40-ish%, which is down from 60% because they sold 20 to Owl Rock. Owl Rock now owns maybe a total of 30. So they own 70, and then the management team and you guys still own like 30, something like that.
The management, the two investors together own close to about 65%. And then the rest is the top management team and employees. Yeah.
Is any of that still an employee stock option pool that's unallocated, where you're going to be bringing on more talent before IPO?
The only talent that we're thinking right now in terms of management team is it's a CMO.
CMO, interesting. So you'll stick with your same, whoever your CFO is right now. They'll take you through IPO, you think?
Yes, very much so. The CFO was one of the new hires this year, and he's a rock star.
Amazing. All right. Anything you want to touch on, Alfonso, that I missed before we wrap up?
No, that's it. Experience insights, man. That's what it's all about.
All right. Let's wrap up here. Famous five. Number one, favorite book.
Last time we spoke, I gave you Good to Great. I actually have to talk about Sapiens. Different than business books, that I really like to read. I'm reading Working Backwards right now, but Sapiens is a history of humankind. Tremendous.
Number two, Alfonso, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
I gave you Richard Branson last time, and I have so many that I follow.
Are you following Girish at Fresh Books by chance? Do you think they're overbooked or Fresh Works? Sorry, do you think they're overvalued or undervalued on the IPO day, S1?
Not following. I'm sorry, Not following them. No, I would say that. I like what Ryan Smith did with Qualtrics. I mean, he's no longer the CEO, but I admire what he did very much. He also bootstrapped the business. So I would say that he's another guy that I admire.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building a business?
I told you about UserZoom already,
Besides
but
your own, yeah.
yeah, but uh,
Who do you use to manage your team and your hiring?
got so many. I mean, we're looking for hiring. You mean for HR?
Yeah, HR stuff. Do you use like remote.com or anything like that?
We're using Namely and we're using Workable and a lot of these. It's kind of hard for me to pick one. I mean, I have to say that I just love to use Google Apps. I mean, Google Apps. I just keep getting impressed on how well designed they are and how they work on UX. And they're also a great customer. So
there you go. There you go. All right. And how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
yeah, I told you about 6 last time. I'm at 6, but I'm trying to get 7 at least.
That's good. And still married with 2 kids?
Yes, very much so. We're having fun.
Did you have a birthday or you're still 48?
Yeah, my birthday's on February, so I'm still 48.
All right. Very cool. And last thing, you talked about culture being more important than strategy as 20-year-old advice. Last time, anything else you'd recommend to your 20-year-old self?
I would stick to that because we're seeing how, through this whole pandemic and what everything that's going on in the world, how important this culture has been, So I think that I would say stick to culture, as an advice, and from a leadership perspective, define your leadership culture, not just your general company culture, but your leadership culture. I'm learning a lot from the Working Backwards book on leadership from Jeff Bezos.
Guys, here, how about Alfonso from UserZoom? They're hoping to IPO next year, hoping to break $100 million run rate in Q1 next year. They call it around 75 to 80 right now with a healthy 40, 50% year-over-year growth rate. They want to define and own the experience insights management space. This really means you can start using them even pre-product when you're trying to figure out what to build next, along with after you build it, making sure you refine it and build the product that customers want. Alfonso, thank you for taking us to the top.
Thank you for having me. Have a good one.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.